support of the Sync campaign, and we could not be more grateful. So we are stoked to get your guys' questions. So please feel free to ask them.
Perfect. I'll jump over to Sam.
Hey guys, I'm Sam Rusk. I am a nerdy tattooer, and yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Me too, Sam. And Ricky.
Hey, I'm Ricky Eqsuivias. I am just a nerd who was lucky enough to know the three of these guys and kind of working on this Sync project. I also do a little bit of graphic design and art direction, as well as game design.
And GMing.
And GMing.
GM and tell stories.
Rick wears a lot of hats.
Perfect. So who wants to go first? What's the history? How did you guys meet?
Well, for a minute, I was a little bit of the connective tissue between the three of us. I've known Rick for, gosh, it's been, I guess, 6 years now. Probably about 6 years since we probably just passed the anniversary of us playing our first D&D game together.
That's right. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Rick. We joined the same D&D group on the same night. I responded to a Reddit post looking for group, which I don't recommend because it doesn't usually work. This time it worked like a charm. But it gave me an opportunity to meet what has become one of my best friends. And Rick and I have co-DM'd each other's games for a long time, just running ideas past each other. And I think both of us do our best storytelling when the other is involved. And then last year, I had been a fan, as we say in the Sync world, Sam a fan for a long time. A fan of Sam Rusk. That didn't land. Anyway,
Had to be there.
We got to meet last summer. Because I got to commission Sam. Is it called commissioning? I guess I set up an appointment with you while you were in San Diego Comic-Con to do a tattoo on my leg. And it was really cool to be able to get to meet you and all of your friends and your wife, and got to hang out at San Diego Comic-Con. And then I'll let you kind of finish that story because I think you tell it better than I do.
I doubt that's true, but yeah, I mean, we'd kind of been like internet, like back and forth.
Mutuals
for a little bit, yeah. And then I got to tattoo you, and we did a fun Displacer Beast tattoo. And then you had just mentioned like we should work on something together, and I was like, yeah, that sounds like awesome. I've always wanted to work on like a TTRPG project and never had the chance. And then I feel like it was like 2 days later after Comic-Con, you were like, if you could work on any sort of setting or topic for a TTRPG, what would it be? And I was like, oh, like pirates and traditional tattoos go so good together, or like a traditional dungeon crawler, because I love, nerdy dungeon crawls. And you were like, why not both? And I was like, yeah, sure, like sure. And I didn't know that you were like absolutely serious about this is what we're doing. And then you texted me like a week later, you're like, yeah, we're doing it. And I was like, what are we doing?
And that's when I got to introduce. I don't think you guys got to meet at Comic-Con that year, if I remember correctly. Did you?
I don't remember it, but Rick says that we met for a second while waiting for your panel.
It was literally just like a hello, and then we talked every day since. We like really hung out in person for the first time at PAX when we met Rico.
Yeah, and Rico, I want to hear from your side of the story. Like, what was because we've told the story about how at PAX Unplugged we had prepared to set up a bunch of meetings with publishers to see what Sync could be, or at the time we called it the Treasures of the Deep Grotto, which ended up becoming our one-shot intro adventure. But your Hit Point was the first publisher that we met with, and we got to compare every other publisher the rest of the weekend to saying, okay, they like us, which is great, but are they Hit Point Press? Which obviously nobody ended up comparing. But I wanted to hear from your side, what was that like? Absolutely not even close. What was it like on your side in terms of the decision-making process for like kind of taking us on under your wing, or like was it a tough decision? Did we just barely squeak by? Because if we did, don't tell us.
Yeah, Sam worked out some sort of tattoo arrangement behind our backs.
Yeah. Okay, so next question. No. So I remember meeting all at the PAX Unplugged, and I meet up with a lot of different creators, all trying to pitch different types of projects and different things because like Hit Point Press develops a lot of different things from accessories to campaign settings. And there's a lot of really cool things that a lot of people are building. And what I thought was really interesting when I saw your project was it had a really unique hook and feel that I hadn't seen from other projects. A lot of people really feel like they have to make a D&D book that looks like D&D. It has to look high render and it has to stick to that form factor. But I'm really of the proponent of like trying to break the mold, try to do something new, because there's new markets. There's a lot of people who really love that kind of stuff, who really want to attach to it. So based on that initial concept, I was like, this is cool. I like this. I also love tattoos. I have a few myself. And I thought this would be something cool that I'd be interested in backing, because it's not just another high render 5e campaign settings. They're becoming a dime a dozen now. If you compare the number of campaigns that are launching since COVID, it is like an abnormal amount of campaigns, and it's starting to feel like the same. Every project feels like, oh, it's all grimdark, or it's all this, and it's just like yours stands out for being this really unique look and feel that I think the industry needs, and I think it will benefit from this exploration. And
I remember walking around PAX, and Rick and I, and probably Sam at the same time too, we're just commenting on like, man, what are we doing? There's so much pirate stuff out right now. Like we're walking by every aisle and it's like, oh, there's a pirate book, there's a pirate game, there's a ton of pirate stuff. I was just thinking to myself, thank God we have somebody like Sam who has such a unique like art style, and like we're just trying something that nobody really has tried within the industry, in attempting to tell stories with American traditional tattoo art, and just thinking like that's really what had the opportunity of setting us apart. And anybody that I talk to, the first thing that they say is the art is the best part of it.
And well, the other thing to me is your team hustles, and it's very apparent and easy to see because you're always talking about it. You're getting on like your socials and chatting about it, doing all these videos, a lot of like discussion and getting and building a community, which is a very hard part, and it's a part that you guys have been focusing on really hard. And like I admire seeing that, because a lot of people, they focus on, well, I'm just building a book, but you're building a community, which is a big and important factor when talking about developing these types of projects.
Yeah, no, and the Discord, everybody here who's watching the Discord stream is so instrumental to that. Honestly, we were surprised at how engaged and active this community was, and all of us loved getting to look at, people posting their tattoo art, people talking about running a Treasures of Deep Grotto themselves. We're excited for that to continue to grow, because we're going to continue to support community and building that up by making sure you guys have access to all the things that we come out with. We're going to be releasing the Fate of the Fogweaver PDF sometime soon, because you guys helped us reach that $250,000 stretch goal, which I think brings us to the whole point of this stream, is to continue to, there's still a few hours left of Sync Adventures on the Call to Reach Sea on Kickstarter. If you guys can, we have just under 4 hours left in this campaign. Share it to whoever you know, anybody who you think might be interested in pirates, might be interested in tattoos, any D&D fans. Send it to the rest of your D&D group. Please help us reach this $300,000 goal, because I think that's something that we're really excited about. I remember when we mentioned it as a possible stretch goal to you, Rico, that was something that you kind of reacted strongly to. And if whoever wants to talk about the Finfolk a little bit, I would love to hear about it.
I'm gonna point at Sam. Sam did some amazing art for this, which you can see in the stretch goal.
Yeah, no, the Finfolk, I'm like really excited about. If we get to that stretch goal, I had a lot of fun getting to design those, and yeah, Johnny and Rick had some great ideas of what they could do. So
we have three I see there, right? There was the one that looks more classic, more folky, but then you have like a hammerhead shark was one of them.
Yeah, there's like a shark folk, a crustacean, and a sea monster.
Yeah, we're working on the names of them right now. I was just about to pull up the document on what our current name is. It's still a work in progress in terms of what the sub is. And now in 5e Plus, or I think maybe a year ago or so, they changed the player options from race to species. and now this is going to be a player option that is called the species of the Finfolk and the subspecies, and that I'm going to pull up right now because I need to have that on the tip of my tongue. Where is it? I'm going to the campaign page. Yes, the Malok, the Charok, and the Archeok. The Malok is based on all these names are kind of based on the Latin meanings of them. Malok being the shark folk, the Charok being the crustaceans, kind of mollusks or crustaceans. Sam has a really cool like lobster clam kind of character that looks like a paladin maybe. And then the Archeok is based on, there's actually like a Latin, you should actually know what it is. It's based on the scientific name for the giant squid, which for a long time was just kind of considered to be like a mystery, like kind of a cryptid or something. And now we know it's not, but they based that name on the fact that is like kind of a cryptid, like mythological creature, which I think is fun. So yeah, if you help us reach that, we're going to be able to make these 3 subspecies for the Finfolk. And if you go check out our campaign page, it's right at the top of the page. It's all the super, super cool art that Sam created.
Really cool art. Ricky, do you have any fun facts about those Finfolk?
No, I think it's just it's this continuation of this marriage between Sam's amazing art and these interesting mechanics of like this setting of the Call to Reach Sea and where those two things meet are just very exciting for us. And obviously, some of you have gotten to play and in fact run the subclasses that we made. So taking on species is like a new mark. We have a couple of species or lineages that we had in the book already, but the Finfolk being something that's completely original to the Call to Reach Sea is something that we're excited to continue developing and see you guys play.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get started on some questions from people. We got our first question, which is actually from Verity. Which pirates inspired you most?
Oh, that's a good question.
Pirates inspired us most.
I think in terms of like pirate stories, one of my all-time favorite video games is Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And specifically like my favorite part of that was like the building of community and kind of this like family that you end up having upon the ship. So when it comes to design of like subclasses and stuff, that was a lot of what I was thinking about was like the main character, like having a sword in one hand and like a pistol in the other. That's basically what we created with the Buccaneer Fighter. So in terms of like real pirates, I can only name like a handful off the top of my head, but I'd say I'd have to look up the name of that character. Like the main character from Assassin's Creed Black Flag is probably my main inspiration for a lot of what we've been going forward with.
Yeah, I don't know if I have like a specific inspiration. I think my love of pirates, I mean, apart from like Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff like that, which is classic, is probably like Treasure Planet, which is borderline pirates. It's still
so
pirates.
Good.
But
it's definitely pirates. It's based on Treasure Island, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that movie like changed my DNA when I saw it, and yeah, but I don't know any like real.
You and I have talked a lot about Our Flag Means Death and how like it's not necessarily the tone that we're going for, but like how much that is probably our most recent favorite pirate like inspiration. Maybe not inspiration, but like touchstone.
Yeah,
Black so good.
Too.
Black Sails.
I think for mine it's Captain Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean because that's the only pirate voice I can do. So every pirate, every warlock you're gonna encounter is just him. Variations on this guy.
Yeah, if you've heard any of our ads, just think about Captain Barbossa doing the voice, not us.
But no, truly, if anybody like wants to get into the pirate mood and read a little bit of actual historical, I think it's actual historical. There's an awesome book called Under the Black Flag that is just like this romantic sort of historical look at pirates of I'm blanking on what the name of the period of time was. The Age of Piracy? That can't be right.
Golden Age of Piracy, yeah.
The Golden Age of Piracy, yeah. So that's a wonderful book to check out to get some insight on historical pirates. But fantasy, we love our fiction as much as we want it to be inspired by real life. There's some crazy stuff that happens in Treasure Planet. There's a bunch of other settings too. I mean, pirates is a huge part of the book, but drawing inspiration for the dungeons and the tattoos have been like equally as fun to me, and finding where these things can again merge in new and unique ways has been some of the best stuff that we've done.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Our next question here is from Coolness. What is each of your favorite piece of sync lore?
I got it first.
I was going to say, you better go first.
We love The Lost Night. I wish I was wearing the shirt right now.
I'm wearing the shirt.
There you go. Can we see the back? Is that crazy?
I'll try.
The Lost Night. There are so many cool things inside of Sync and the Call to Reach Sea. But The Lost Night is this thing once again, just like starting from a piece of art that Sam had made and seeing this sort of medieval plate armor, and what is that doing in this archipelago? That person must be very brave or very dumb, because trying to swim in plate armor would be incredibly difficult. But the story that we ended up developing for The Lost Night is one that I think is so important to me because there's a romantic element to it, and I love that stuff. But it's also this kind of secret undercurrent, if you'll excuse the pun, throughout parts of the book. The Lost Night is maybe not something you'll necessarily encounter as a villain or as an NPC, but you'll be able to piece together parts of their story if your players are interested, or if the DM is interested in telling that
environmental storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also he's got a we can't cuss. He's got a really cool horse. You might be able to ride a really cool horse.
Yeah. Sam, what about you?
I mean, you guys keep saying how a lot of it starts from the art, but a lot of it starts we've had a bunch of calls where it's all of us talking, especially Rick and Johnny just talking about building up the world and things that would probably never even be seen, but you can feel in the setting. I just love building up the history and the lore of how the Call to Reach was created, and there's a really cool dragon lore and stuff like that. I'll let these guys explain it way better than I could, but that's my favorite part.
Yeah, for me, I mean, there's a ton that I want to talk about, but I also want to keep some of it kind of trickle the lore. But the one that I really enjoy was the impetus for, I think, what started a lot of kind of the theme around what Sync is. And what we tried to build around it. Obviously, we have the huge theme of pirates and tattoos being the main things, and kind of encompassing it with this dungeon crawler setting. But the whole idea of what happens to your soul when the guy who's supposed to be sending it down the river Styx to the land of the dead is actually hoarding it for himself, and how that empowers them, of Egathul's whole motivation was based off of I got curious about what the point of a figurehead was. Obviously, a figurehead is a gorgeous piece of architecture or sculpture upon a ship, a carved mermaid, for example. But I feel I just had a feeling that all of those things are kind of, there's a mythology or a lore surrounding it. And when I looked it up, I was not disappointed. There is it's supposed to be the fact that where having a figurehead on your ship allows for this tiny little fey creature called a kabluter manaki to live upon your ship, that protects you from rocks and from storms and from sickness and stuff. So that's literally, we just pulled that whole cloth into the Sea Gnomes, which is one of our playable races and an NPC in Sibo if you've had the chance of playing Treasures of Deep Grotto. So that is kind of the impetus of how the souls of the souls of the fallen sailors on the sea, they're supposed to be escorted to the land of the dead by the kabluter manaki, or what we are calling the Sea Gnomes. And what happens if there isn't a figurehead on the ship anymore? What if it gets targeted specifically? And then we kind of just took off from there, letting our imaginations run wild.
That's awesome. Okay, we got our next question here from Mad Classist. Where did you get the ideas for subclasses?
Hey, Mad Classist. That dude, I think, has
Real
been
OG.
playing Deep Grotto more than
we have.
anybody else. Shout out to the awesome community.
Yeah.
But yeah, Johnny, subclasses. I think.
Oh man.
I think that was like just. Well, sorry. I think Johnny and I have been kind of collaborating on subclasses for a while. The first one was the Gridiron, which was.
I think the first one was the Path with the Oath of the Executioner, and then it became the Gridiron. Yeah, the two different ones that we published.
Executioner, Johnny actually played in a home game that I ran for almost 2 years. So coming up with these subclasses were just like kind of just what we were doing for our home games anyway, and just like making sure that they were a little bit more balanced. But I think we definitely wanted to hit on the nautical themes for 3 of them, and then a tattoo theme for one of them. But
yeah, that was the thing, is that we were looking at the subclasses for all of the classes and realizing that there wasn't something that was nautical or pirate inspired for every single one. Not that we're trying to just like fill that in as a gap, but if we were imagining, okay, what would a nautical ranger look like? Well, kind of ranger, not like trying to hunt things on the water. That's a fisherman. Like, how are we going to build out a fisherman in 5e? So that's when we came up with like the idea of kind of using a harpoon and it being a special weapon, and then having all these different abilities to do with the harpoon. And that's how we built out the Mistbreaker Ranger. And then we thought about a bard. Like, what would a water bard look like? Well, it'd be a shantyman. It'd be somebody who's singing shanties on a pirate ship. So we built out the mechanics from that. I think the Buccaneer was... It seemed pretty like 1-to-1. Like, okay, there's the swashbuckler rogue, but that doesn't necessarily get the idea of like, kind of like a mad, crazy pirate kind of just going in like, you know, guns blazing. And it also didn't take advantage of the fact that we are using firearms in our setting. So like, how are we going to make sure that there is a character that can utilize that? So that's how we came up with the kind of base level for what the Buccaneer fighter was. And then when it came to the Spellskin, yeah.
If there wasn't a human fighter inside of this thing, I would have rioted. So
that's true. Rick, it was part of his rider, is that there needed to be a human fighter. So if you make any non-human Buccaneer fighters, you'll be hearing from our lawyers. But then the Spellskin, honestly, we relied a lot on Sam and like what attracted you to like playing a tattoo artist or a tattooer in D&D. You know, originally we had thought, well, it seems pretty clear, like this should be an artificer, but artificers aren't SRD. We can't make an artificer without, Wizards of the Coast like express permission. So, that kind of left us with like only a couple different options. We felt like Wizard fit the best, and then we were able to build out the lore from there. And I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first things that we had talked about when you guys were telling me about the subclasses that you were thinking. And as soon as you mentioned like a tattooer in the party who actually gives tattoos, because I think the only like tattooing that I've run into in D&D was like, oh, you can like go to an NPC and they'll, you get a magic tattoo, but like to be able to give your party tattoos, I was like, that is awesome. I love that idea so much. And as soon as you said wizard too, I was like, that fits so well, because in the tattoo community, like a tattooer who's been tattooing like 20 years is referred to as a tattoo wizard. Like,
I love that.
So I was
so
like,
good.
That's perfect.
How many years are you going on again? Like 14 or something? 15?
I think in January it'll be 16 years.
Level
Wild.
16.
Level 16.
Yeah.
So you've been tattooing since you were 10, right? Like...
Yes, 10 years old. Thank you.
Okay. I got a very important question. How do you pronounce Eqsuivias? Is it Eqsuivias? I got told.
Rico, do you remember how you pronounced it originally?
I don't remember. How was it?
Yagathul.
Yaga.
Yeah, Yagathul.
So sometimes we'll just refer to him as Yagathul. No, it's Eqsuivias. He's like this eldritch, fiendish god that wasn't always a god, and he kind of supplanted a different god as the kind of enforcer, or the what's really called the psychopomp, the person who, or this like entity that passes the souls of the living into the land of the dead. And that's the title that he holds now, is the Psychopomp of the Seas.
Beautiful. I think Yagathol is the party version, obviously.
Yagi.
That's when Egathil gets a little too tipsy.
He gets into the hot tub. Okay. Okay.
This is baseball.
You have no idea.
So this was very important because I'm just a little bee had a question about them. Can you make an offering to Youthful to bend the laws of space and time to get everything all made and shipped by next week? Now, I think I can answer this
We would love
question. we would love
Can
that.
we?
Please.
We already don't sleep.
Come on, Rico.
Oh God.
Blame Rico.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No.
No. Like a big thing, and people know it. Books take years. They take a couple years to make because while you see the beautiful art and the beautiful writing, and in a lot of cases when products come out or someone really big like Wizards will make a book, they've been developing in the background for years. They'll preview, tease it. They'll have pre-orders, but they've already printed and have everything ready for you to go for when you're ready to purchase. The benefit of something like a Kickstarter is you're helping a team like this who are getting off the ground and really want to bring something really cool and new to the space, and allowing them to develop and grow and talk to you about what they're building, how they're building it. And it's going to take some time. Sometimes books take 2-3 years to make. This one's planned to be done middle of next year and right into manufacturing. So that way, we have it early 2026 based on manufacturing and all those things. But I think it needs time to really make an excellent product. And I think that's what we're going to see from these fine folks. We've got another question here. Which tattoo artists inspire you? I'll start this off with Sam.
Oh
Yeah,
my
Sam. That's the answer.
Sam is our tattoo artist that inspires us.
I mean, a lot of kind of local artists where I'm from the Bay Area in California, and when I started tattooing, there was a shop called Samuel O'Reilly's in Santa Cruz, and everyone who worked there, I was just this little kid, been tattooing a year, and I would go there so nervous, I just want to get tattooed by people that I really like, and just a little baby. But Edu Cero over there. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be blanking on every single person's name now. But the shop's no longer there, unfortunately. A lot of shops didn't survive COVID, but a lot of them are still in the area. Adam Barton. But yeah, I mean, traditional tattoo artists too, Sailor Jerry, all those original people who made the style, and that we just kind of copied to death. So it's fun when we can, take what's traditional and tried and true and turn it a little nerdy. So that's what I live for.
Yeah, part of the awesome part of this project is, it's called traditional tattoo for a reason. It's not the original tattoo art, but it is a tattoo style that has so much history involved in it, especially as sailor tattoos. So a lot of these tattoos already have their own meaning, and we're using that meaning to inspire the mechanics that go alongside it. But we're also not trying to copy that art one-to-one. If you look at all of the pieces that Sam has made has been adjusted to fit into a fantasy setting, or fit into a pirate setting, or fit into what makes sync. So we're not whole cloth pulling from the actual flash art that has made traditional tattoo art what it is today for the last couple centuries, I guess. But we're trying to, I guess maybe not centuries, maybe a century. But what we're trying to do is make it our own. Specifically, Sam's trying to make it their own. And while we're trying to bring, increase the personality, then what comes behind the tattoo as a magic item itself, and build out those mechanics.
Yeah, I think somebody who doesn't have any tattoos coming into this, just learning about it through Sam and sort of just absorbing it. There's also some people that we've met since creating Sync, like Kelly Severtson, is that how you say their last name? And Chad Rowe. These sort of, again, this merging of nerd and tattoo has been a really inspiring thing for me as we're creating not just the mechanics and the story, but the art itself.
Yeah, the only participating artists that we allowed on the project, besides Sam, were tattoo artists, and plus my another artist that we really enjoy, Abigail Irvin Penner, who has a tattoo art style, but is not a tattoo artist themselves. But we are going to be able to include their art in the book as pieces of faction like banners, similar to the faction banner that you can get on the in one of the tiers. I believe that is the Grimscar's Bounty tier, or maybe the Egathul Soul Horde tier. But if I can derail the conversation a little bit, just to push a little bit more of, guys, we are. It feels like a lot of money, but we raised this pretty much this amount in the last less than a week. We are $28,000 away from hitting our next stretch goal, and I know it seems like a lot, but if you can share with whoever you can, your D&D party members, your friends, your family, to include them in on this project, because this is something we are so passionate about, and we have felt the passion come from the rest of the community. If you're able to share it, send it, text it, tweet it, whatever you can, to help get this thing across the finish line. We only have a few more hours left. And that number also gets raised from increasing pledges. So if you decided to pledge at the standard hardcover, but are finding more about the playing card deck that we're creating that you can get with the box set, or the Egathul Idle mug that you can have island drinks in, and you're excited about that idea, you can raise your pledge right now to help us get across the finish line and try to reach the $300,000 number. It's on the horizon. We're trying to reach it, but we've raised a ton, like $20,000 in the last 3 days, which has been an awesome spike since the the lulls in the middle of the campaign. So if you guys can help us reach that, we would be so grateful.
And don't forget, there's still some slots for tattoos from Sam.
That's true.
Some live games from Ricky and Johnny. So some really cool opportunities there. I know personally I want to get one of those tattoos myself. But there's limited of those left too. So be sure to snag those if you can. Okay, I'm going to jump back to some more questions here. We got Brad, who asks, how many ships do I need to plunder to get a class with an absolutely dope name, the Drowned Warlock? Just point me in the direction of the appropriate patron and I will make a deal.
How many ships? I guess it depends on the ship, Brad.
I mean, what does $128,000 of stretch goal because I think that's our new subclass stretch goal is to be able to make the Drowned Warlock is at $400,000.
Yeah, that's on the displacer. You gotta talk to the Fog Weaver about that one.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's like
if you can help us, if you can help us get to that number, we would be so incredibly grateful. I think we're really pushing for the $300,000 mark, but the Drowned Warlock is something that we are stoked about. We really wanted to make a warlock that is dedicated to Egathul and what kind of powers that comes along with. What powers can Grimscar unlock if you don't defeat him in the Treasures of Deep Grotto? So yeah, there's a lot of stuff there that we're excited about.
Hey Rico, I don't mean to jump ahead too far, but Nick just commented. Nick from Scry Society, friend of the show, is important question. In all of your playthroughs, did any players ever try to romance Egathul?
I guess that's a question for us.
When I ran it for my home party, and one of my players, she actually got the Egathul tattoo because she loves Egathul. She didn't try to romance him, but she betrayed our party to join Grimscar because she wanted to worship Egathul.
I haven't gotten Egathul yet, but I've gotten oh no, he's hot for Grimscar 4 times.
I love that.
Sorry to interrupt the flow. Just important question had to be addressed.
No, totally important question. Okay, next question is
Egathul is my hear me out.
Where's the meme?
Perfect. Okay, next question. Enchanted Squid asks, dragons, will there be sea dragons?
Oh, Enchanted Squid. We recognize you from around the Discord as well. Yes. Yes, that's
all we can say about it right now.
Yes, there will be, and there's at least one, and it's very cool, and I think a little unexpected.
Yeah, So we're not going to give away all the secrets right now, but we have at least one included in the, in the story, and that's all I'm going to say.
Perfect. Okay. You kind of already touched base on this, Sam, but which tattoo from the book would you get, and will you get any tattoos from the book in real life? I know you mentioned a friend of yours got Eqsuivias already, but what about the rest?
Ooh, yeah, I really do want to get a sync tattoo myself. I don't know.
What room do you have left?
I got some room.
Yeah, on your face.
Yeah. Yeah, just get a little sync tattoo right on the face.
Well, one of my tattoos that I've been planning on getting is to get a shoulder tattoo of the ship, like we're calling the ship rot tattoo, but it's just a classic pirate ship, three sailed large ship. But I want that specifically because my grandfather was a pilot in World War II. He flew a plane called the F4U Corsair, and a Corsair obviously is another name for a pirate, which I just recently learned is like a regional name for a pirate. I think it's based in like a pirate that was in the Mediterranean Sea. I think it might have been Greek inspired. But a Corsair, not only the plane on one shoulder, but like the ship on the other to kind of go between the two. So that's the one I would probably get as the ship rot tattoo, and probably will.
Yeah, we've been talking about me getting my first tattoo, making it sync related. My first tattoo I wanted to get was Human Fighter, just the word so that it would confuse anybody who doesn't play Dungeons and Dragons. But you know what? It's when we did everything as content with Critical Role, Sam, you put sink and swim on my knuckles, and I kind of loved it.
Hell yes!
I think it'd be kind of crazy to have knuckle tattoos be your first
and
tattoo.
Nothing else.
But even like when we were just doing home games or filming some content, I put some of the tattoos like on my arms, and I found myself like looking at myself in the mirror and like, oh no, he's hot. So tattoos make you feel tattoos. Yeah,
scientifically proven.
Yeah,
Science, guys.
Yeah, El Gigante is asking if Rick can be forced to get a tattoo by launch. So
yeah, we're gonna pin him.
You don't have to
pin him
force
down.
This feels a lot like what happened to Bellio.
Or Bellio.
Yeah, I know personally from. Sorry?
Oh, I said no forcing tattoos.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
I know for myself, there was like a flame dog or a flame wolf, or what was that one, Sam?
The Hellbeast.
The Hellhound. Yeah. I wanted to get that on my like lower leg, and I know my partner wants to get the like undead hippocampus or whatever that was. That looks pretty sick that you've developed as well.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, the Kelpie. Oh, that's
the Kelpie.
One.
Yeah. Those are awesome. Cool. El Gigante Grande asks, does or will Davy Jones make an appearance?
Will he ever? I guess that's up to you. No, Davy Jones, our take on Davy Jones is to answer your question, yes, Davy Jones is inside of the book. But we've sort of took some liberties with what that kind of a figure might mean. He's not going to be, a mind flayer, a lithid pirate like they did in Dungeons of the Mad Mage. But Davy Jones is a powerful elemental primordial force that you will learn a lot more about over the course of the adventure. Treasures of Deep Grotto kind of alludes to it a little bit. What the temple where Eqsuivias currently is, maybe what that used to be will help you kind of piece those things together. But it's the Davy Jones Eqsuivias dynamic, the Lost Knight. There are a lot of these sort of environmental storytellings that you'll be able to piece together with your players as you run the adventure.
Solid. Thank you, Ricky. We got another question from Enchanted Squid. For mythology, did you consider locking any of the skills or traits to some of the deities in D&D?
No.
I'm kind of confused about the question.
Squid, do you have any clarity on that? We'll jump to the next question.
Traits to some of the deities, and well, I mean, honestly, we're not. The what's the word for the group of gods? Pantheon. The pantheon that we're creating is not based on like the traditional D&D deities. For for two reasons. One of which is because we're creating our own world, and two, because I don't think we're legally allowed to use those names. But we are. There's obviously a ton that we're tying directly towards our deities, like Eqsuivias and like others that may or may not have been mentioned before.
Yeah, I think
we got some clarity from Enchanted Squid. Oh, like how clerics have alignments to holy deities and their abilities kind of correspond.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I think that has been much more tied in with the warlocks, the way that we're using warlocks in this adventure. There are specific powers that are granted to them from, greater beings inside of the Calderreach Sea. As far as the clerics go, there is no cleric subclass specifically inside of the book so far. But there are allusions to pantheon, a sort of pantheon that we have in the Calderreach. And, like Johnny said, it's not the traditional sort of 5e Raven Queen and Paylor and all of those kind of things.
Awesome. Okay, we got a question here from Jordan. What was your favorite piece of real-life pirate lore that has made it into Sync? I know we talked about pirates that we are inspired by, but is there anything that's made it into Sync?
Sorry, I feel like I'm so excited to answer this. There's tons of like small things that have sort of inspired me. A lot of these things I don't even know if is true, but it's just sort of like the pirate lore. There are gold earrings that the pirates wear, so that if they're killed away from their home, that they can be used. That at the very least can be used to pay for their burial. So those kind of things are like, when I'm describing NPCs in the world, I make sure to like include those kind of things. Eye patch being used as not literally as if they were missing an eye, but being used so that they can see adapt to the darkness more quickly if they needed to go below deck. I think there are tons of these small elements that have really influenced me, that have helped me make the game a little bit more evocative when I run it.
Awesome.
Yeah, personally, it's less pirate lore and more just sailor lore, but the Kabluter Manikees being like this nautically inspired little mythical creature living on ships, obviously was the basis for our Xenome species, like player option species, as well as the NPCs that are Xenomes in the story. I'm trying to think if there's anything else besides, the fact that there was, whether it's kind of like more storytelling and like fictional, sailor and pirate lore, or if it's something that people actually believed, but the idea of Davy Jones' locker and Davy Jones being this kind of controlling figure over like the land of the dead and kind of crossing over into the land of the dead and what Davy Jones' locker naturally represents, that's obviously a huge inspiration for our campaign.
Sam, anything on your side?
I don't think like any like specific real life pirate stuff, but definitely sticking to like a lot of traditional like sailor tattoo lore in like the designing of the tattoos. But yeah, I don't think I've had any input of like real life pirate stories.
Yeah, we're also like, if you look too deeply into it, pirates didn't actually have like this style of tattooing. Like they might have had tattoos, but it didn't look like Sailor Jerry traditional tattoo art.
Of like,
yeah,
it's a little different.
But we're making it our own.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not involved in the creation of this, but actually, I found a really cool like factoid recently about pirate ships, and way back in the day. Apparently, recently, like researchers have found out that they can figure out hurricane data from the wood from old ships based on the number of rings in that wood. Like there's some really cool stuff that can be done in terms of just like researching old ships and telling us about the past that we couldn't figure out because like recorded history doesn't talk about it, but there's so many secrets deep within the sea that you can uncover. So there's a lot of really cool things that like people have been uncovering about that kind of stuff. So, and that still to this day, new discoveries. Sorry?
That didn't just inspire a whole one-shot for me at all.
I'll send you the Radio Lab
Please do.
on it. Nice. It's really cool. Perfect. Enchanted Squid asks, will there be other sources for magic for the tattoos, like Enchanted Squids?
Sam, do you want to talk about the base of the ink base in the story?
Sorry, Sam. Before you hop into that, I have to pop out for a second, but hopefully I can join you guys again soon.
Thanks, Ricky.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to a little bit of the dragon lore that we were talking about. But yeah, I mean, it's called the Caldereach Sea because there was a caldera, right, Johnny, of like the red dragon that made this caldera its home, and all of the sands of the beaches in the Caldereach Sea are black sands from the dragon living there.
Like the volcanic, like stone being ground down into the sand, yeah.
And the ink for the magic tattooing in the Caldereach Sea comes from the black sands of the beaches. I think Johnny, you can get into it a little bit more if you want to.
No, that's exactly right. You know, we still get to have awesome conversations about how the world was formed, and that's, you know, some of the most fun conversations that we get to have. So like the source of that caldera is definitely going to play its way into the story in one or two different ways. And then like what separates a normal tattoo from like a magic item tattoo, because not every tattoo in the world would be magic. Like that would be way too high psych magic of a system. But we're developing like what those rules are, because there absolutely will be rules of getting magic tattoos besides the ones that the Spellskin Wizard can offer you as a like party member.
That sounds really cool. We got another question here. Actually, it's from Brian Wilcox. It very boisterously asked, "Will there be plenty of rousing, rowdy shanties in sync?"
Yes, and Brian and I have talked about this a number of times. Brian's an incredible poet and lyricist, and gave me I think a passing grade when it came to writing my first shanty, which was the Hound, the shanty that is that comes along with the free RPG Day adventure, Treasures of Deep Grotto. I know I'm fumbling over my words right now. The Hound was an attempt that I made at like creating my own sea shanty, especially one that like somebody who was playing the College of Tide Song Bard for the first time could pull from if they wanted to actually sing a shanty for their abilities in the one shot. So the plan actually is to develop a shanty for a number of parts of the book, including probably one for each of the dungeons of the campaign, as well as some for important characters and subclasses and such.
Amazing.
I have the recording of that too.
Yeah,
it comes with the one shot. That's amazing if you haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah, so if you haven't played the Treasures of Deep Grotto yet, the best way of getting access to it is by going to the Kickstarter page and going down to the free PDF one shot. I think it's called, on the side, it is the free one shot little chapter. If you click the link that is under that, you will be sent over to Hit Point Press's website. And there you'll be able to download the PDF as well as all of the digital resources like the virtual tabletop, like little art pieces that you can give to each of the enemy characters or the player characters, as well as an MP3 of the Hound that Channel Raw, a friend of ours, a family member of Rick's actually, who is an incredible singer, helped produce this song for us that I wrote with the help of Sam and Rick.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brian, for the question. We expect many a shanty from you as well. We have a question about Soul Link mechanic. How does it work?
Yeah.
How will it change play?
The Soul Link mechanic is a direct descendant of like just exploring what like possession of your own soul and like where does your soul go, especially when someone is interfering with that, specifically Igathul and his warlock pirates. So the sunken mechanic, the soul link mechanic leads you to the sunken condition. The sunken condition is how you start the adventure of the Treasures of Deep Grotto, and it will come up a ton in sync through many different ways. It can come about in a number of different ways, similar to I guess any kind of condition in Dungeons and Dragons, whether it be incapacitated or poisoned or what have you, you can become sunken in a number of different ways. But the through line, anytime you get the sunken condition, is that your soul is at risk, and therefore your body, your staying alive is at risk. If you are ever at 0 hit points, when you have 0 hit die remaining while under the sunken condition, your character is dead. There is no revivify. There is no death saves. Your character is gone. Their soul has been lost to eternity, to the River Styx, probably to Eqsuivias himself. So you can have that hit die become at risk as a new optional resource, like a resource drain, because that's a huge part of GMing. We were just talking about this on a stream last week about how much like flexibility and how much opportunity it gives a DM, because when you're building out dungeons, when you're building out traps, when you're building out encounters, the thing that you're trying to build out really is the tension, and this tension is happening through majority of it losing hit points. As you become closer and closer to 0 hit points, and that kind of the party total becomes closer to 0, the tension rises and the excitement level builds. But sometimes that's limited, especially at higher levels when you're like, okay, I need to try to just get huge chunks of health off of these guys. So you're hitting people for 50, 60, 70 points of damage every turn. What would happen if you were able to threaten another resource? Because there's so much back and forth in D&D as well. You go down for a turn, it's not a huge deal. When the cleric is up, he's going to cast a healing spell on you, and you're going to get right back up at zero death saves, and you're going to be able to get back in the fight. Well, if you drop to 0 and you have no more hit die remaining because of the meat grinder that this dungeon has caused, or the enemy's special ability that anytime they hit you on a turn, they remove a hit die from you, or maybe you have a magic item that pulls from your source of hit die to do increased damage or healing or what have you. That increases the amount of not only options for the DM to create tension, but also increases the utilization of hit die as a mechanic as a player. We kind of tested this with, Rick mentioned earlier, I got to play as an Oath of the Executioner Paladin, a subclass that Rick and I built in the last campaign that Rick ran. And part of that was creating a magic item, magic sword, based on the one that is right there on the wall, that allows you to pull from your hit die to do like a smite ability. So that is something that we're going to be able to play with within the rules of Sync as well. But we also wanted to make sure that the soul, and I apologize for talking so long about this. I'm very, very passionate about this mechanic. One of the things that we wanted to make sure that the Soul Link was offered was that it wasn't the intrinsic Sync games intrinsically include Soul Link mechanics, but we also wanted not only for Soul Link to be able to be pulled into somebody else's game, just like you might for any kind of third-party rule set that is like for a very specific setting or a very specific adventure or dungeon or one-shot. But we also wanted to make sure that if you're not a fan of the Soul Link, or the Sunken Condition whatsoever, but you really love the subclasses that we wrote, then you can play these subclasses without needing the Soul Link mechanic. There's nothing that actually crosses over between there. There will be magic items or different feats that can link those two, but we want to make sure that all parts of Sync are modular and that you can pull and play into your games at will, whether it's the subclasses, whether it's the dungeons, whether it's mechanics themselves. So it's, Brian said Soul Link would be insane in Tomb of Annihilation. It would make it that much harder to get through that dungeon. But it's something that we're really excited about, exploring the different options, because for a while it was kind of an unwritten rule that hit dice just weren't going to be like an active mechanic in Dungeons and Dragons outside of healing for a short rest. So we were really opening up that door and seeing what we can come up with, whether it be magic items, magic item tattoos, feats, backgrounds, and a ton of other things.
Perfect. Thank you, Johnny. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. So the next couple questions I'm going to ask, we're going to just try to rapid fire answer them. Even if they're longer questions, we're going to just try to answer as many questions as possible. So we got El Gigante Grande. Extremely important. Will Sync have a canon pirate name generator?
Heck yeah, why not? Let's make a whole 2-page spread about like a D100 on this side, D100 on this side. The one that we have for the Treasure of the Deep Grotto is the Misty Mermaid, and then the Hades Hound. So I mean, we can come up with 100 of those, I think.
Oh yeah, well, or just fill it with Johnny, Sam, and Ricky, and everyone's Johnny, Sam, and Ricky.
There you go.
You only need
Um,
D3.
yeah, the classic D3. Favorite monster in Sync?
Oh man, it's got to be one of the warlocks, probably. I guess monster. Honestly, I think it'd be the Tattoo Flayer, which is this roving pirate that is kind of unaligned to any of the factions that you come across, and all he wants to do is become more powerful by stealing your magic item tattoos. So that's one of the things that I'm most excited by.
Sam?
I think I'm going to steal that answer too.
It's
I'm
not the
really
little
excited
skull
for
crab the art that you do. I love that thing.
Yeah, no, the skull crab's fun. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. It was mentioned previously on the Discord that there isn't going to be a focus on naval combat, but will there be material related to customizing ships the characters will use, like suggested crew size, different types of ship, or pre-gen ships?
I think a lot of that is going to end up being based on the DM individually. There will be like naval combat in terms of like jumping on somebody else's ship or an actual battle that is happening on a ship. But setting up rules for what a ship can do isn't necessarily something that we're going to tackle full on. So it's like we're not going to give you like a magic cannon necessarily that will give you an extra action on your ship's turn, for example. But there are definitely going to be some opportunities to gain and steal other people's ships. You know, it is a pirate campaign after all. So yes, that will come with its own benefits. But in terms of building out a whole system, that has been done to great effect in the past. We've sent people toward Limithron's I think it's Guide to Naval Combat from that team, and they have a great system in place that you can actually download a free version of on their website. So as I mentioned before, naval combat isn't something that we went into this adventure really excited about exploring. We wanted to make sure that we had the opportunity to focus on the stuff that we were really passionate about, specifically the magic item tattoos, the subclasses, the soul link mechanic, and everything else that's going to be in sync.
Perfect. Okay. Someone asked here, the 250 stretch goal comes with all levels of the pledges in the Kickstarter. The answer is yes. If you are pledged for any of the tiers, you're going to get that PDF when it's made. Would you consider exploring Finfolk in the future, even if the Kickstarter doesn't reach the goal?
We've talked about this, and it's really going to be determined on like what the years ahead bring, and like what the back end, not just the Kickstarter, but like sales on shelves and on our websites, and both Hitpoint Press and SyncRPG.com, about making like the possibility of a sequel book and a different book set within the Call to Reach Sea or within the same like rule set of Sync. And I think that's something that all of us are really interested in, as long as it makes sense to continue doing so. And something like the Finfolk, like the Drowned Warlock, like a number of different things that would be included in the stretch goals that are further along, absolutely have a really good possibility of making it in there. So I don't like Sync 2 Moist Boogaloo, but we can keep on working on names.
For sure. And like Johnny says, like we're going to focus on the primary stuff.
Yeah.
If we get to a point where we've done all those things, and maybe it's an opportunity for a free RPG day or something like that where we want to expand the line, we'll decide after we've finished everything here, because that's what we know we've committed to, and understand that we want to make sure we are able to finish that first before adding even more work onto our load here. I do agree, Walrus Finfolk sounds like a thing that should happen.
Mm-hmm.
We do have 1 minute left, and so I think the last question I'm going to ask is, if you can answer this quickly, how'd you get into TTRPGs?
I
was a converted comic book nerd.
I actually got into it from tattooing, which seems opposite. But yeah, one of my clients got me into D&D like 6 years ago.
Respect.
And Ricky, back at the perfect time. Ricky, how'd you get into TTRPGs? Really quick, we're in the final minute.
Oh, really quick. Okay. I have always been game designing with my brothers even before we knew what game design was. And then I found out D&D existed, and I was like, there's rules for imagination. Yay.
Rick's son his oldest son is actually a game designer now, based on the that's so cool.
He's 5 years old and he's making better games than I am. We need to put him on sync.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, okay. I appreciate the three of you. It's been a fantastic chat. And again, I appreciate everyone who's joined this call today. You know, like Johnny stated at the start, it is you who helped make this project possible in terms of giving us your support as we try to give you the love and attention this project deserves and what we have there. I'm going to give each of our members a couple seconds here to do a farewell, and then we'll sign off here.
Yeah,
I'll start it off. Rick, you go.
No, truly, I just want to reiterate our gratitude, especially for everybody here hanging out in the Discord and hearing your guys' stories about you running the game and watching the streams and all of those things has just been the absolute best part about making this book is seeing stuff that we're helping to contribute to stories that you're going to tell with your friends. So thank you so much. Thank you for backing the Kickstarter. There's a couple hours left if you want to share it out. But again, thank you all, and we're excited to see you in the Call to Reach Sea.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Just I'm so stoked that you guys like pirates and tattoos and dungeons as much as we do.
Yeah, you know, we are at $272,000 right now. We just jumped up a good amount. I think somebody just had a big pledge. It's $754, 272,754. Honestly, in 3 hours, do you think we can make it to 300,000? I don't know, but one way or another, we are really, really proud of what we were able to do, and we're so proud to have been able to help foster a community that you guys have impressed us so thoroughly with. We are so grateful for you all. You know, the time zone mix-up is a happy accident because there are still the campaign is not over right now. There still are about 3 hours left before this thing completely comes to a close. So again, one last time, if you would like to up your pledge, right now is the last opportunity to do so. That will help us get to our stretch goals. Anything that happens after the campaign ends won't affect the stretch goals themselves. But again, share it with whoever you can, Twitter, Instagram, friends, family, D&D group, anybody who you think might be interested. We would love for you to be the one who sends this project that we are so passionate and so beloved by us to them to help build up this community as well, because you guys are a huge part of that. And I want to say thank you to Rico and to Sebastian, because without whom, honestly, we would have been lucky to make $100 on this project, because this is the Hit Point Press team has been so instrumental into creating this, and we are and is the whole reason why this is actually going to get in your guys' hand in the first place.
Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that. Actually, we have one really last important question. It's from Enchanted Squid. Sam, you're going to be my first tattoo. You excited?
I am excited. Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you, everyone, and thank you for the community for coming and checking this out. We love you all, and again, thank you. We'll see you at the finish line there, and yeah, let's get sinking.
What are you thinking about?
Thank you. What are you thinking about?
Goodbye.